Mr. Hunt?
You answer that?
You've been doing a good deal of writing, you say, the past couple of weeks. Can you give us an idea as to what some of the subjects are?
No, I never go into work in progress with anyone except my literary agent.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Book Graveyard Vintage Genre Fiction channel here on YouTube. We're also out there in the podcast world. If you're listening there, thank you very much. Today I want to do an episode on spy fiction, espionage. I follow an account on Instagram called Spybrary, genius, and they had just released their top 125 spy authors of all time. It was curated by award-winning British political journalist and author Tim Shipman. So I got the email, opened up the PDF, the link, whatever, I don't remember, and I started flipping through the list, looking for my favorites. And other than like the obvious James Bond, I was excited to see that the Assignment series did make it on the list, Edward S. Aaron's. But it was closer to the bottom. And I think that the Spybrary it's serious spy business. They're not messing around with their espionage fiction. They probably like the real hard-hitting thriller, almost best-selling kind of stuff. Whereas I, like all other genres, appreciate the more exploitive books. So their list kind of inspired me to put together 5 espionage exploitation books, spy exploitation books that I would recommend to you to check out, that are not the big names, that are not the, obviously there's the Le Car. Where's the camera? There it is. Le Car. There's none of this. This is the real deal here. Eric Ambler. And of course we got our Assignment. Look at that gorgeous cover. And the James Bond. These are the ones everyone knows. These are well-crafted tales of international intrigue. But what about the guys who just cranked it out really fast for a paycheck? I've read plenty of stinkers in the genre. People who drop the ball. But there's also gold to be mined. And I'm going to tell you 5 of my favorite ones that I have found. Let's get going. Alright, so the first one up is Overkill by Norman Daniels, pulp writer Norman Daniels, husband to Gothic writer Dorothy Daniels, nurse Gothic writer Dorothy Daniels, one of my favorites. We did a great Dorothy Daniels book on the Guide to Gothic series. But we're not talking about Gothics, we're talking about spies today. So here we are, Overkill by Norman Daniels, published by Pyramid in 1964. So this is the first installment in the Man from Ape series. And I know what you're thinking, what the hell could APE stand for? And that's a really lame acronym for American Policy Executive, which is an equally lame title for your cool espionage agency. But we're gonna bypass that. Like I said, this isn't the top-notch quality stuff here. This is bottom shelf. So you're gonna get some misses. You're gonna get some watered-down drinks every once in a while. Our spy in this series is John Keith. 2 syllables, like a 1-2 punch. John Keith. Or, like James Bond. This is the introductory book. This is book number 1 in the series. So thankfully, APE is explained. It is a super secret agency that operates outside the typical government agencies, your CIAs, your FBIs. So the agents who work for APE don't really know who they're working for. And John Keith basically just has the contact man who simply goes by the name Darius. So it's super secret. The US government doesn't even know he exists, but you know who does know he exists? The Russians. And his Russian counterpart, Alex Boria, comes to him with a proposition. The Russian intel has found out that there's 4 Chinese scientists headed to Albania, where they are going to build a warhead. The Albanians hate the Russians, so obviously they're going to take this warhead and they're going to aim it at Moscow. Or they're going to aim it to Paris and blame it on Moscow. It's not me that's not sure, it's unsure in the book. John Keith doesn't trust Borya, but this scenario does not sound like it would be in the U.S. best interest, so he agrees. So we get to spend a lot of time in Albania, and like most spy books, nailing the location is a big part of the enjoyment. Now, I've never personally been to Albania. In fact, I had to Google to even see where it was before I did this review. But the picture that Daniels paints is romantically bleak, with its outdated buildings and cars. It's described like a rundown hotel where the owners are doing their best just to keep it running. Plenty of clandestine spy stuff occurs, including mysterious shadows, double crosses, hot foreign ladies beneath the sheets, dead bodies discovered in museums, and a climax similar to one of my all-time favorite spy movies, Spies Like Us. Overkill is the perfect mix of serious and schlock that makes it both engaging and fun. Not to mention how many books are sitting on your shelf that take place in Albania. Up next, we got Shanghai Incident by Steve Dodge, who's actually Stephen Becker. This was published by Fawcett Gold Medal in 1955. We got the cover art. Credit on this one is to Lou Kimmel. So the Shanghai Incident is a non-series spy story starring our protagonist, former OSS agent David Chapman. Chapman is probably the most grounded agent on the list, which gives the story a bit more realism than some of the other entries. I've mentioned the OSS before on the channel, but if you're unaware, it was a real government agency that existed from 1942 to 1945 and was a forerunner to the CIA. There are surprisingly some great authors that were members of the OSS during World War II, including Travis McGee, creator and author John D. MacDonald, and a man coming up on this list, the White House plumber himself, E. Howard Hunt. So, protagonist, lead character Chapman, isn't necessarily a working spy in this book, but a private detective who is hired by the United Far East Mines to travel to Shanghai to locate one of their geologists who went missing. And I know, you're like, what the hell? I thought this was a spy list, man, not a private detective list. So the reason we are including this book in the spy list, other than the fact that everything about the plot is espionage besides the setup. He was chosen because of his past history with the OSS and when he was in Shanghai during World War II. And what's really great about this book is it's the perfect mesh of the hard-boiled detective and the classic espionage narrative. So in this book, we have friendly faces who may be enemies, foreign babes with hidden nationalities and allegiances, and the Shanghai setting in the 1940s is rickshaws and neon lights. It's basically an exotic travel brochure tucked into a pulp magazine. And for all you history buffs out there, the narrative weaves in the real-world happenings. The story takes place in 1948. The city of Shanghai is in turmoil as the nationalist government has collapsed, and there's the oncoming invasion of the Chinese Communist Party. This isn't a B book like Overkill, but it's also not a straight, serious espionage thriller in the stylings of Eric Ambler and John le Carre. The tone of the book is an old black and white noir movie, but instead of shifty hoods, femme fatales in the streets of San Francisco, you get undercover government agents and nefarious conspiratorial operations. How many takes do you think that took? The third book, The Acts of Atlantis by Lee Grimes, pseudonym of Fremont Dodge. Cool name. How the hell are you going to have the name Fremont Dodge and go with Lee Grimes? Published by Warner Paperback Library in 1975. The Acts of Atlantis is the second and final installment in the Chandra Smith series, both entries written in the 1970s. Chandra is our protagonist, and when I first saw that cover and bought this book, I thought that I was picking up a female spy story, but no. Chandra is all man. His father was white, and his mother was Indian descent. He's also an art expert, speaks many languages, and is ex-military special forces with the judo skills to kill you with his bare hands. Chandra, not 100% sure how to pronounce that. Chandra works for an unnamed agency, and like most spy books, he has one contact, and his contact in this book is Mr. Ames. Mr. Ames catches up with Chandra post-drunken bar fight. Chandra's been hitting the sauce pretty hard ever since the love of his life that he met in the first installment of the series was randomly attacked while she was attending a party, and now she's in a coma. So obviously, our star here, our protagonist, our hero, Chandra, has some baggage coming into number 2. You might think that that's going to drag it down, but don't you worry, because as soon as a jiggly ex-girlfriend shows up, he forgets all about that love of his life in a coma. Needless to say, this is the schlockiest book on the list. So our contact man, Mr. Ames, wants Chandra to quit sulking about, sober up, and head off to Crete to keep an eye on his niece, whom he thinks is in danger. Which, I know, that's not a very spy assignment, is it? And no, it's not. It's not a very spy assignment, but don't you worry, because when he gets to Crete, that danger that she is in just happens to be a Bond supervillain who's all about ancient Greek mythologies. And he's going to summon the essence of the Minotaur so he can rule the world. This book has many things going for it. And number 1, the most important feature in an exploitation novel is that it's exciting. We get lots of underwater adventure. We got some actual scuba going on. We have the romantic Greek Isles and the legit mythology. Grimes. Fremont Dodge did his homework on his history and his setting. It is on point. And now you throw in some Atlantean theory, archaic rituals, fistfights, puzzles, non-stop action, and you have a highly enjoyable spy B-book. All right, book number 4. By the way, these aren't in any kind of order. I'm just randomly listing them. This just happens to be number 4. And it is Cairo Cabal by Alan Cailloux, originally published in 1957. This is the 1974 revised edition for Pinnacle. So, revised edition, I never noticed that before. And it made me wonder, was it revised by the author or the publisher? Did the author want to do some rewrites to it, or did the publisher chop it down from its original hardcover form? I do not know the answer. I do know that the original title was Alien Virus, which makes sense in the story, but it's a terrible title for a classic spy novel. So this one is going to be a tough one to talk about, as it's one that I read many years ago before I was writing any kind of reviews on any platform, and not to mention there are 0 reviews of it anywhere online to help me jog my memory. So I'm going to try and pull something together here of what little I can remember. But I did want to include it because I remember when I finished it thinking like, wow, that was an intense book. So I'm going to do my best to try and remember, try to piece together the parts, what it's all about. And most importantly, what I remember from this book is the atmosphere of it. So this is a non-series entry, and our spy protagonist is John Trent, 2 syllables, 1, 2, James Bond. Trent is a spy for the British Secret Service. He's in Egypt, obviously. A list has been found in the apartment of Princess Hygran, an exotic Turkish dancer, and the list is found by a scummy, espionage-adjacent local Egyptian man. He's someone on the peripheral edge of the spy world whose business is dealing in secret information and selling it to the highest bidder or whatever leverage it can get him. On said list are the names of British operatives undercover out in the field. One of the names has been crossed off, which seems to be related to the agent's death a week prior. Trent is tasked with finding who created this list and keeping the men on it alive. This is probably the hardiest of all the plots mentioned here. You will feel full after reading this book. The thing that I most remember about this book is the tone of it. It is brutal. very savage. This isn't some fun and quirky James Bond wannabe type spy book, and it's definitely not one of the more bureaucratic espionage books. Cairo Cabal is rotten. It's terrible people. The setting is all the worst parts of Cairo that you can imagine. Everything is hot and sweaty, poor. The characters lack even the most basic decencies of humanity. They're opportunistic, untrustworthy, and indiscriminately violent. I feel like most spy books that I read glorify the life. They make it very exciting. When you read a James Bond book, man, you like to imagine yourself in that role. I could be that man of adventure and international intrigue. But when you finish Cairo Cabal, you're going to be like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm just going to keep doing my thing, living my basic life over here, because that sounds terrible. And finally, book number 5. You knew it was coming if you've watched my channel for any kind of time. You've heard me mention E. Howard Hunt before. I just enjoy his books, whether it's his CPA, murder-solving, hard-boiled detective series, Steve Bentley, or the Peter Ward, the spy series here, this Peter Ward entry that we're talking about this time is The Sorcerers. This is published by Fawcett Crest in 1969, and it has cover art by Jeff Jones. So I actually got the cover art on that one. It's gloriously evil and occult. I actually thought this was a horror book when I first bought it, but no, it is a spy novel that just happens to have a black magic cult in it. So out of the 5 books mentioned here, only this one and Acts of Atlantis have video and blog reviews if you want to go check that out. The Acts of Atlantis is like my 4th video, and it's probably not that enjoyable to watch, but if you want to check it out anyway, I'll leave a link for it there. And The Sorcerers is a little bit better. I don't know. We're learning every day. So The Sorcerers is part of the Peter Ward series, and it had 9 entries from 1965 to 1972. Sorcerers was entry number 8, and get this, supposedly, this is so E. Howard Hunt. Supposedly, the Peter Ward character was created as an American reaction to James Bond at the request of Deputy Chief of Intelligence of the CIA, John A. McCone. Do you guys believe that? I don't know if I do. So our protagonist is Peter Ward, CIA agent, and this is interesting because there are many thriller authors who worked in the field in real life, but E. Howard Hunt was the only one that I'm aware of who is on active duty in the agency that he is writing the stories about, which is just so wild to me, as this seems like something that the government would not be thrilled by. And then you have the rumor that it was created on purpose as some answer to James Bond at the request of the deputy chief is just unbelievable. And just like everything else that I read or hear about E. Howard Hunt, it seems like a lie wrapped in truth. I don't think we'll ever truly know all that he was responsible for. And true to espionage subterfuge, everything attached to his name is impossible to discern what is truth and what is fiction. His whole being, his whole essence was confusion. And I don't want this to sound like I think he's some kind of admirable character. He's not a hero in my eyes. I think he's probably a pretty terrible guy, but he is also a very fascinating one. So how does a CIA spy book written by a real agent read like? Chef's kiss. So the plot to The Sorcerers is Peter Ward is tasked with finding out if a Canadian embassy man has been conversing with the Russians and giving out secrets in hopes of the return of his daughter, who is supposedly kidnapped by the Russians. This leads Peter Ward on the trail across the globe in an investigation that ends with the black magic cult. Of course it does. Setting-wise, very important in espionage fiction. We get started in Georgetown, which is, E. Howard Hunt's stomping ground. We get Geneva, we get Paris. We end up on a random island on the coast of Africa. When I imagine the most perfect, cliche, in the best ways, aspects of a spy exploitation novel, The Sorcerers is it. E. Howard Hunt was a real-world spy, and I think that he thought very romantically about it. He thought that he was something out of a comic book or a movie. Case in point, there's a scene at midnight, the Eiffel Tower. Peter Ward is supposed to meet an informant there. All you see is the moonlight coming in, and then in the darkness, you see a man coming towards him through the shadows. Then you hear a shot go off, a gunshot goes off, and the man drops to the ground. And now Peter Ward, stuck in the darkness, must go search through the informant's pockets, but also on the lookout, who knows where this sharpshooter's coming from. And it's a scene that is written so beautifully that absolutely nails the atmosphere. And this book is filled with scenarios just like this. There is one caveat to this entry, and that is this book has the main plot, where he's trying to find this girl. He's seeing if the Canadian diplomat has been talking to the Russians. And that plot is wrapped up. And then there's this tacked on plot at the end. It's so terrible, but it's also hilariously ridiculous and true to form of Hunt's ideals that would lead him to what would transpire shortly after this was written. Let's just say that it might have something to do with those commie counterculture, dope smoking hippies and liberals who are obviously in bed with the Russians. You know how it was? So not only is The Sorcerers good bad, but it's also good. And that's how I find most of E. Howard Hunt's books to be. When Hunt makes contact with the ball, it's going out of the park. It's a home run, for sure. But when he misses, he's swinging at balls way over his head. So if you're looking for those exploitive spy books, the fun stuff, the cheeky stuff, the romantic stuff, look no further than the Peter Ward series by E. Howard Hunt. Because it's all of those things. It's very, very cliche romantic. It's what you want. It's what I want. I know that for sure. And that's all we're going to do for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.